The Sims 3 came out almost 20 years ago, and to this day, it's still arguably the most expansive base game in the series. I've been playing since I was a kid, but because of that, I always end up making Sims with similar traits who do the same things over and over again instead of exploring everything the game actually offers. So to fix that, today I'm starting a Lepacy challenge with the goal of fully diving into the Sims 3 base game and all 11 expansion packs. What is a Lepacy challenge, you may be asking? It's basically just a legacy challenge where you start with one founder and follow their family for 12 generations, each one adding in a new expansion pack to focus on. A new generation will begin once the heir and their spouse have completed their lifetime wishes and the next heir is at least a teen. All traits and lifetime wishes must be randomized unless the game has already pre-assigned them. We also are not allowed to use cheats, but any in-game rewards and items are totally fair game. With that in mind, the goals for our first generation are simple. Our founder must complete her lifetime wish and so must her spouse. Ideally, this will be done before their heir becomes a teen, so they have as much time as possible with their generations pack. I also want the heir to, just in general, be ready for world adventures by learning relevant skills like athletics. And most importantly, I do not want to burn out. This is an absolute beast of a challenge, and I really want to stay excited and motivated to keep going through every generation. But first, hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Ali, and if you enjoy this video and you want to see more challenges like it, then please consider subscribing. With that, it's time to randomize our founder's lifetime wish. The first lifetime wish of our Lepacy challenge will be presenting the perfect private aquarium. Okay. That's really random. I don't think I've ever done that one before, so that's fun, I guess. Basically, the goal is to catch and display 13 different species of perfect fish. Obviously, this means that we are going to be doing a lot of fishing, but we'll also probably have to do some gardening and cooking too, so it should be a fun little challenge. We are, of course, going to be playing in Sunset Valley, which is the default town that came with The Sims 3 for the true base game experience. I hopped into Create a Sim and made our founder, Valencia, good. Since she's going to be doing a lot of fishing and outdoorsy things, I decided to give her a nice green nature vibe, and I think she turned out pretty cute. But now comes the part that I was absolutely dreading, randomizing her traits. All right, I'm just gonna randomize a few times and stop. Okay, not the best traits, but that's fine. And her lifetime goal is going to be to have a bunch of fish. And I feel like she's not going to get along well with people, so it's probably good. Based off of that, here's my quick backstory for Valencia. Valencia has always been kind of a scaredy cat loser who did much better with plants and animals than she did people. Most people found her to be too emotional, too needy, leading her to feel dejected. Despite this, she does have a flirty side, and now that she's exploring the world on her own, she wants to find love while pursuing her outdoorsy passions. Will she be able to find love and success despite her timid and awkward nature? I guess we'll find out. I sure hope so. I customized her favorites and zodiac sign, and with that, we were officially ready to begin this daunting 12 generation challenge. As is traditional for a Sims 3 Legacy challenge, we will be living in the biggest empty lot, which is coincidentally right next to the richest families in town. Hopefully they don't mind us ruining the feng shui, because we will not be having a house that nice probably this entire challenge. In fact, as soon as we hopped into the game, I got rid of all of her money, so we won't even be having a house at all. But hey, I have faith in Valencia. I know she's gonna do great despite her very, very humble beginnings. Obviously, Valencia needed to make money, and she needed to make money now. Eventually, I'd like for her to be able to just live off fishing and maybe gardening, but for now, she really needed to get an actual job. I decided to have her join the science career since that was most in line with her lifetime wish, and then sent her to go fish in the ponds out back. I soon realized that she was definitely not skilled enough to be fishing here, but it wasn't all a loss because I realized that they also had a garden. It probably wasn't a good first impression to her boss to literally steal from the job on the first day, but listen, Valencia has no money and she needs food. Plus, now she could start growing things at home. Valencia still wanted to get some fishing done today, so she headed back to the lake near her home lot. She had much better luck here, quickly catching her first fish and several more right after. She soon reached level 2 of fishing, and that means that she could start using bait. In The Sims 3, fishing with bait makes it much easier to catch high-quality variants of specific fish, which would be super important for our lifetime wish. During this Lepacy, I really want to push myself to just discover things organically during the game rather than looking them up, so I decided that one of our first big goals would be to save up for some fishing books which would tell us what bait we need to catch certain fish. It was getting pretty late and Valencia was getting tired, so once she reached level 3, she headed to the park to nap on a bench. Somehow in my 10 years of playing The Sims 3, I don't think I've ever played with a coward trait, and I quickly realized it came with a lot of silly quirks. Oh my god, she's afraid of the dark? Oh my god, you baby, what do you mean? You're in a taxi, it's not even dark. I'd be much more scared to sleep in a public park than I would be to be in a taxi, but whatever floats your boat, Valencia. Valencia alternated between napping and fishing the rest of the night, and before long, she was off to her first day of work. Valencia arrived late and was in a pretty bad mood, so unfortunately she didn't do that well. She also got sprayed with water at the water cooler, like the loser that she is, so it was a rough day all around, to the point where she came out of the building crying. It's kind of ironic her last name is Good when she's a loser. Like, she's not good at anything. To help her feel better and be less stinky, she headed to the gym to shower and nap. While there, Valencia talked to a few people, but they were all way older than her and she didn't really click with anyone. She headed back to the park to fish a little bit, where she reached level 4, and then she headed to bed. In the morning, I woke her up a little bit early to harvest some of the apple trees and seeds in the area so we could have some more crops to grow, and then I sent her off to work. I clearly didn't let her sleep enough because at work she got so tired her performance started going down. Since this job is just for survival and it doesn't really matter how she does as long as she gets paid, I let her relax the rest of the day in hopes that we'd make enough money to buy a bed. Thankfully, she did. I bought her the cheapest bed, and while I couldn't afford anything else useful, at least she could finally get a full night's rest, even if it was at 3 in the afternoon. I didn't want to completely ruin her sleep schedule, so I woke her up a few hours later and finally had her plant all the crops she had. While Valencia gardened, I sold off all of our fish, and that got us enough money to buy a toilet, but I kind of felt bad I couldn't afford a light since she was so scared of the dark. Once Valencia finished, she went to bed, and while she slept, I moved her toilet to the other side of the wall so she could have a little bit more privacy. See, that's basically a house, right? When she woke up, she tended her garden until she had to leave to work, where she practiced gardening. When she was done at work, I once again tried to have her fish behind the science lab, but the fish were still too tough for her, so she headed back to the park. Valencia's hygiene was really low, so I thought about letting her go to the gym and shower, but now that she has the garden, it's not really worth it because of how often she would need to go. So until she can afford a shower, she's just gonna have to be stinky. Valencia just casually fished for a while when all of a sudden, Tamara Donner caught her eye. Valencia headed over to meet her, even though she probably wouldn't make a great first impression in her terrible work outfit smelling like absolute shit. Tamara was a little older than Valencia, but still a young adult, and she was working as a campaign intern in the political field. And she was single. So soon after they became friends, Valencia tried to flirt with her, and Tamara seemed pretty receptive. They bonded over the fact that they were both pretty flirty, but then Valencia decided it was time to go home and sleep. Tamara seemed like a great candidate for a romantic interest for Valencia, but I didn't want to commit to her without letting Valencia play the field a little bit more. When Valencia woke up in the morning, she once again tended her garden. She reached level 3 in the skill, but it was at the cost of being a little late to work. We had barely started, but work was already becoming almost more of a hassle than it was worth because it was taking so much time away from her actual goals. Unfortunately, much like in the real world, we do live in a society, and she needed to keep working for a little bit longer until she had enough money to survive without it. To make things worse, she got sprayed with water again. Even the universe was saying that this job is not a good fit for her. Luckily, Valencia had made enough money at work for a shower. She worked on her garden a little bit more, took a break to shower and nap, and then finished the rest of it. Then she called Tamara, and they chatted a bit before heading off to bed. After her normal morning routine, Valencia went to work, but this time she managed to get promoted. With her bonus, she actually had a decent amount of money, so she went grocery shopping and furniture shopping for a fridge, counter, trash can, and sink. Unfortunately, she didn't have enough to buy a stove, which I should have realized before I bought groceries because all of the things I bought were for meals on the stove. I have a mod that makes it so you have to have the ingredients to cook meals, and I love it because of the challenge it adds, but it is so annoying in situations like these. Luckily, Valencia was able to make quick meals like bread and jam, which probably tasted a lot better than the entire lime she had been eating up until then. Valencia tended the garden and reached level 4 of the skill. Afterwards, while she was showering, Tamara called her, and of course she answered. They chatted for a bit, and then Valencia invited Tamara out to the park, but she wasn't interested. I still wanted Valencia to have a nice night out to celebrate her promotion, so I sent her to the park anyways and figured that if no one wanted to talk to her, she always had her fish. However, when Valencia got there, she saw Hank Goddard playing chess and started chatting with him. They seemed to really hit it off, they had compatible signs, and Hank was single, so Tamara had some competition. Ironically, both Hank and Tamara were charismatic, so it seemed like poor awkward Valencia had a bit of a type. Valencia found Hank 9 out of 10 on the attractive scale, and soon after becoming friends, she decided she wanted to kiss him for the first time. Ooh, oh yeah, okay, alright, he might be the one. Oh, yikes, that is so embarrassing. Oh god. He just like peed on us. Yeah, so after that, Hank went home, but Valencia surprisingly didn't seem too put off by it, so the love triangle was still on. Valencia went to bed, but as she slept, I started to get messages about Hank becoming official with a woman named Yumi, and that he needed a loan, so I started to worry that Hank might not be the best fit for her. If you haven't seen those messages before, they're from the NROS story progression mod, which not only drastically improves EA story progression, but also gives you fun little pop-ups for what's going on in the town. While Valencia was in the middle of her morning gardening, I was notified that Tamara was flirting with someone who was in a relationship, and Hank started flirting with a different girl named Blair. Clearly, both of these people used their charisma to play the field, which is fine, but if Valencia wanted to end up with either one of them, she needed to make her move soon. Valencia ended up reaching gardening level 5 and sold all of her produce except for her grapes to use for on-the-go meals and cooking. Since her garden was so big at this point, tending it was an all-day affair, which sucks because besides work, she didn't have time to do literally anything else, including make progress towards her lifetime wish. Hank was caught making out with yet another woman, but when Valencia was sleeping that night, it was Tamara who was labeled the town tart. I think they're calling Tamara a whore, which is rude. Have you seen Hank? When Valencia woke up, she, of course, gardened, but was interrupted when Hank called her. While they chatted, I learned that he was literally on a date with another woman. And for those trying to keep track at home, yes, this is the 4th different woman he's been with since we met him 2 days ago. Hank is obviously a very, very busy man. After hanging up, Valencia dropped some grapes off at the bistro to fulfill a request, and she got a ton of money from it. So I finally decided to buy Valencia a stove. Valencia sold some more produce and ended up with enough extra money to invite Tamara out for dinner at the diner. Out of curiosity, I had Valencia consider Tamara's attractiveness, and she found her 10 out of 10, blindingly stunning, which solidified to me that Tamara was a better match for her than piss boy Hank. Valencia and Tamara talked until they were good friends, and soon talking turned to flirting, and their hangout turned into a first date. Since it was pretty clear that Valencia and Tamara were going to get together, I decided to bring Tamara into Cass and give her a bit of a makeover. I never changed my Simtownies features, but I did want to give her a bit of an updated look that was more my style rather than 2009 Sims 3 base game mess. Tamara's bio states that she's a former party girl now trying to live a productive life in the political field, so I tried to keep that in mind as I was styling her, along with keeping her same green color scheme and fun flirty vibe. After they were done eating, they decided to tour City Hall. At some point, Tamara pulled Valencia into the judge's chamber and they made out for a while, but I guess The Sims 3 was going by gal pal logic because when they came out, they were still just best friends. They decided to head back to Valencia's place and keep the fun going. In preparation, I spent the rest of Valencia's money on a double bed and a light bulb so she wouldn't be so scared at night and embarrass herself in front of Tamara. When they arrived home, Valencia got to work wooing Tamara. Do you want to stay over? Am I very nice, very, very humble? Emphasis on the humble abode. She said yes, and Valencia soon confessed her attraction. Tamara, of course, accepted, and then they had their first kiss. Even though they literally made out in the judge's office like 2 hours earlier, but who cares? They were officially romantic interests. The lovebirds ended their wonderful evening together with a little woohoo. Give them a little bit of privacy. By privacy, I mean, I won't look, but I guess everyone else can. They flirted a bit in the morning, but they both soon had to head to work. Valencia actually had a fantastic day of work because she made a massive scientific discovery and instantly got enough experience to be promoted. For a loser, she's had a lot of wins lately, and I couldn't be happier. After work, Valencia tended the garden and headed to bed, all the while constantly thinking, dreaming, and getting wants about tomorrow, which was super cute. In the morning, as always, she took care of the garden for a bit before heading to work, where she got asked to become a paramedic at the same level she was as a scientist. Valencia was flattered but declined, since being able to practice gardening at work was much more useful to her than saving lives. When she was done with work, she went home and, what else, gardened. As if I wasn't feeling like I was wasting time and behind enough already, I also got a notification that Tamara had aged up into an adult. That meant that Valencia was also pretty close to aging up, and she still had a lot to do for the challenge and no time to waste. The next morning, Valencia finally tried to use her stove for the first time, and unsurprisingly, she burned her waffles to a crisp. But she got a request from Tamara to bring her some fresh veggies, and of course Valencia agreed. At this point, Valencia was so in love with her, Tamara could ask for a kidney, and Valencia would probably agree. While tending the garden after work, some of Valencia's plants started to die, which was actually great because gardening was still taking up way too much of her time. At this point, she was level 7 and could grow pretty much anything, which would be helpful for bait, but her lifetime wish is fishing, not gardening, so Valencia decided that she'd lock in on fishing starting tomorrow. The next day at work, Valencia was once again asked to join the medical career, but this time at a rank lower than her current one. She obviously declined, which was definitely the move as she got promoted later that day. To celebrate, she bought a ton of fishing books, but she decided to be responsible and read her workbook first. Right as she was finishing up, she bumped into Tamara, and the two decided to go on a date. They went to the movies, and then since Valencia had a bit more money, they decided to go get dinner at the fancy bistro. While we were there, a busboy tripped and spilled food on us, which sounds awful, but was actually great, because since we were nice to him, he gave us a free serving of angel food cake, which is literally the best food in the game. Unfortunately, I got too distracted by Valencia and Tamara being cute that I didn't put it in the fridge, so it spoiled as Valencia walked into work the next day. My bad, I'm so sorry, girl. As if the day couldn't get any worse, Valencia started getting bullied by some of her coworkers. At this point, Valencia absolutely despised her job and wanted to quit. She did have a decent amount of money saved up and would likely be moving in with Tamara soon, so I decided that after she got her next promotion, then she could quit. The next morning, she called both Tamara and Hank and then, shocker, gardened literally all day. Luckily, after she was done tending the garden, Valencia still had some energy left, so she decided to go fishing at the lake near our house. While she was there, she caught a perfect minnow, which was the first fish worthy enough to go into our collection. I quickly bought a fish tank and plopped it in there, making us 1/13 done with our goal. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do, not to mention that we need Tamara to move in with us so we can start working towards her lifetime wish. But hey, progress is progress, and that's a good step. Valencia continued to fish until she got exhausted, and then I sent her to bed. In the morning, we got some interesting news. Oh god, Tamara's in a gang with Mortimer Goff? Okay, good for her. Coincidentally, we needed to go see her to drop off her veggies, and as a reward, she gave us $700 and a bathroom quickie. They got dessert at the bistro, and while they were there, Valencia proposed going steady, and Tamara, of course, said yes. They then woohooed in City Hall for old time's sake, which was their second public woohoo in the second different location in a single day, so good for them. Valencia kissed Tamara goodbye, then went to go fish in the park. And after a little while, Valencia caught her second perfect fish, a rainbow trout, so she went home to put it in the tank. When she woke up the next morning, Valencia had a few more wants about Tamara. I swear I've never seen a sim so obsessed with another one. It's so cute. I wonder if it has something to do with her loser trait, like maybe she knows Tamara is a little bit out of her league, so she's like, oh my god, I cannot lose this woman. That's my headcanon at least. Valencia worked super hard that day, even agreeing to become a test subject for her coworker, but unfortunately she didn't quite get promoted. But that meant that tomorrow would definitely be her last day of work, so that was something to look forward to. She finally had enough skill to fish at the science lab, so she did that and then went to bed. When Valencia woke up the next morning, she realized she wanted to move in with Tamara, which sounded great to me. Valencia was once again bullied by her coworkers, but it didn't matter anymore because she got promoted and then immediately quit. Power move. Valencia headed home and tended her garden until Tamara was done with work, and coincidentally, she also got promoted and was now a city council member. Valencia invited her over, but she wasn't interested, which is rude, but whatever. The next day, Valencia finally had some spare time to start reading her fishing books. Later in the evening, she invited Tamara over, and thankfully, this time she said yes. They chatted for a bit, and when Valencia asked if she wanted to move in, she enthusiastically said yes. Clearly, Valencia's love is reciprocated, and that's just so sweet. Once Tamara was in the household, I took a better look at some of her details. Her lifetime wish was living in the lap of luxury, which means she wanted to have 125,000 simoleons saved up, which is a ton of money that we are nowhere near close to having. Tamara did have a lot of friends, which is great for the political career, but her charisma was way below expectations, so she needed to start working on that ASAP if she wanted a chance to get promoted and get more money towards her lifetime wish. Also, Tamara would be an elder in just 13 days, and Valencia was almost an adult, so they needed to get a move on and start having kids now, if they wanted to continue the Lepacy. Now that Tamara had moved in, they had enough money to build a small house, so I decided to bite the bullet and go for it, even though they wouldn't have enough money to furnish the whole thing. I'm not that great at building in The Sims 3, or at all, in general, but I ended up with a house shell that I was mostly satisfied with.
Yeah, okay, I like that. It's kind of fuck-ass in the back, but so am I. It's okay.
I continued to build until we had the exterior mostly done, except for some windows, and the upstairs floor plan done. I then shoved all of our furniture in wherever it would fit. It still wasn't a very nice house, but it was a house, and that was much better than what they had before. Once they got settled, they consummated the new house with a woohoo. Tamara had work the next morning, and it was incredibly important that she do well, because she needed to start rising through the political ranks fast if she wanted a chance to complete her lifetime wish. She was rank 5, which is pretty good, but again, she only had 12 days until she became an elder, so we needed to hurry up. Valencia tried to cook waffles, but set the stove on fire instead. She tried to put out the flames herself, but kept spraying herself in the face. Valencia, girl, please, I know you are a loser, but come on. She finally put it out right as the firefighters arrived, and while insurance gave us a little bit of money, it wasn't enough to replace the stove. Instead, I bought a fire alarm, so if God forbid there was a next time, the firefighters could come a little bit faster. After all that, Valencia needed a chill day, so she just tended the garden. When Tamara got out of work, we used that money to replace the stove, and then she practiced charisma the rest of the day. After Valencia finished with the garden, she decided to call up Hank. They had started to grow distant, and she wanted to make sure she had someone to invite to her and Tamara's inevitable wedding. After hanging up, she showered and redeemed her earlier mishap by cooking up some mac and cheese. Things got steamy between our lovebirds later that night, and Valencia decided now was a good time to propose. Tamara excitedly said yes, and they did a risky woohoo to celebrate. The next morning, Tamara headed off to work, and Valencia headed off to a faraway lake to fish. I also realized that Tamara had a ton of books in her inventory, so I sold them, giving us enough money to finish setting up the downstairs floor plan and get some more windows. We still had a lot more to do, but their house was already starting to come together a little bit more. But we only had $5 to our name. Coincidentally, Tamara got an offer to illegally take money out of the campaign fund. I thought about doing it because we were so broke and she'd need way more money to complete her lifetime wish in time, but I decided against it for now. If we had the chance again though, I would definitely reconsider. I checked back in with Valencia and she had reached level 7 fishing and caught her first shark. While I was thinking about having kids, I decided to go ahead and have her get the fertility treatment reward perk. I was hoping that she could just have one set of twins and we could be done having kids. Ideally, I also wanted at least one boy because I like to have alternating gender heirs for Lepacy like this. And in a perfect world, we'd have boy-girl twins and that's it. I planned on them getting married the next day and trying for a baby that same night since Tamara was getting pretty old and I wanted to make sure she'd be around for her kids. Literally right after I got all that squared away, Valencia aged up. I had completely forgotten it was her birthday, but you know, I bet she liked just having a quiet, peaceful day of fishing, so let's pretend that that was planned. Now that both Tamara and Valencia were adults, I wanted to give them a quick little makeover and plan their wedding outfits. I had Valencia put her hair up and wear a bit more of a casual but still outdoorsy outfit and gave her a very princessy wedding dress. Tamara got a bit more mature style-wise since she was now becoming a high-ranking politician, but I still tried to keep some of that party girl edge. I also gave her a suit for the wedding because look at her, she's so hot, oh my god. After all that, I sent Valencia to the beach to see if she'd have better luck catching higher quality fish there. That was definitely the right move because almost immediately she caught a perfect jellyfish, which I added to our collection. I went ahead and sold most of the rest of our fish, which gave us a bit more money. Our good luck continued when she caught a perfect red herring, literally doubling our progress in just a few hours. When she eventually got tired, I sent her to bed to rest up for her big day. In the morning, I used our meager funds to set up a little backyard wedding. Tamara scheduled the party for later in the afternoon and then spent most of the time before it clogging and unclogging the toilet. Before long, the guests arrived, and the lovely brides flirted for a bit in their cute little wedding looks. Valencia went to serve the food, while Tamara mooched and asked for campaign donations, which ended up being super successful as her boss, Vita, gave her $10,000. It was soon time for the ceremony, which was really cute. The guest even threw rice, which was a nice surprise because I thought that came with Generations. The Sims 3 base game has so many little details like that. I just adore this game. Tamara was given some time off of work to settle in, but I had her cancel that with the use of a mod because she cannot miss a single day of work with how close to becoming an elder she is. Luckily, by doing that, we got a good amount of bonus cash, and I was able to give them a dining table and an actual bedroom as a wedding gift. At some point during the night, the newlyweds snuck off to try for a baby. I had already decided that Valencia would be the one getting pregnant because she can still fish and garden while pregnant, whereas Tamara would risk missing work, which again, she cannot do. Valencia soon headed to sleep, but Tamara rejoined the party and continued to ask for donations. I also had her grab a ton of plates of food from the buffet to put in the fridge for leftovers before they went bad. Eventually, she went to bed and all the guests left shortly afterwards. The next morning, Tamara woke up and began to grind charisma. Valencia tended the garden like always, and several more of our plants died. Valencia sobbed, but I was thrilled it wouldn't take her literally 6 hours to garden every time. Afterwards, Valencia went fishing in the lake, and she quickly reached level 8. I decided to give Tamara a bit of a break to complete a request to teach negotiation at the police academy, which would boost her job performance. Not only that, but she also got $1,000, which we really needed. She went home and locked back in on charisma, and eventually reached level 6, which put her in a much better place for her career. Valencia was doing great fishing and caught a perfect goldfish, bringing us to 5 out of 13 fish. Soon though, she had to throw up, and that was a pretty good stopping place, so I just sent her home to shower. She also cleaned up around the house, and I cleaned out her inventory by selling all of the fishing books she had already read. Later that night, Valencia realized she was pregnant, and both of them wanted a boy, which was great because so did I. They ate dinner, then worked on fishing and charisma respectively before capping off the night with a woohoo. The next morning, Tamara headed off for an easy day at work where she'd almost certainly get promoted after getting the boost from the class she taught. Valencia got up, and I'm sure you're sick of me saying this, and trust me, I'm sick of doing it, tended the garden. Thankfully, pretty much all of the first wave of plants were dead, so we could start fresh with a smaller garden filled with plants we could actually use as fish bait. After work, Tamara came home and took a nap while Valencia cleaned up around the house some more. She then headed off to the grocery store to buy her new plants and to the bookstore to get a pregnancy book and some more fishing books. When Tamara woke up from her nap, I bought her the multitasker perk, which would make her better at work, and then she read the pregnancy book and headed to bed. When Valencia got home, she read one of her new fishing books before joining Tamara and going to sleep. The next morning, I realized that if Tamara wanted to have 120,000 simoleons, she needed to have a second income. She also kind of needed a hobby, so I combined the two and had her start working on the painting skill. Tamara also planned to throw a campaign fundraiser that night because now that she'd been promoted, all of the funds that she had previously had don't count anymore. Valencia got up and tended the supposedly new and improved smaller garden, but shocker, I once again planted a few too many things, so it still took her a pretty long time, but not as long as before, and we need all of these plants for bait, so at least it feels like a little bit less of a waste. Later in the afternoon, when Tamara's party started, she did a great job getting donations from people, and eventually she had earned enough that she could just ignore everyone and paint the rest of the night. Valencia went fishing, but soon took a break to read her pregnancy book. This was perfect timing, as when she was on her way to the ocean, she went into labor. Tamara rushed to meet her at the hospital, and soon after, Valencia gave birth to a baby boy. Originally, I was gonna name all their kids after fish, but I decided that was a little too silly, so instead, I'm gonna name all of their kids after seas, starting with our first son, Caspian. Per the rules of the challenge, I had to randomize his traits, but since he would likely be the next generation heir for World Adventures, I was a bit scared. Alright, heavy sleeper and loner. Interesting, but that's fine. Oh, they just had one kid. Damn, okay. Yeah, it turns out that fertility treatment didn't do anything, and we just had the one baby. I really wanted them to have exactly 2 kids, so after putting Caspian to bed, I went ahead and had them try for a baby again. And ironically, this time I was hoping that fertility treatment wouldn't work, even if it meant I bought it for nothing. The next morning, Tamara woke up and headed to work, and when Valencia woke up, she took care of herself, took care of Caspian, and then, of course, took care of the garden. Surprisingly, Tamara locked in extra hard and got promoted to mayor in a single day, which was pretty cool. She was also invited to attend a rally at City Hall later that night, which meant she would get a head start in her new position. She laid down for a nap so she'd be rested up for the rally, and Valencia headed off to fish at the beach. Tamara woke up with enough time to reach level 7 charisma, then headed off to the rally in her brand new limo. I checked back in on Valencia, and she had caught a perfect alley catfish, putting us at 6 out of 13 fish, and we had our first full tank. I went ahead and bought her a second tank, which was good because I soon realized she had also caught a perfect tuna, so we were officially halfway done with our goal. Once Tamara was done with the rally, she bought the other pregnancy book, then headed home to practice charisma until she had to go to sleep. Valencia was super close to reaching level 8 fishing, so I planned to have her do that and go home, but she found out she was pregnant, so I just let her go to bed early. The next morning, I had Tamara get up early to read the other pregnancy book and get her fun up a bit before work. This paid off as she did a speech from memory, giving her a career boost. She still wasn't likely going to get a promotion today, but she'd certainly get one tomorrow, which was great. Valencia tended the garden, took a quick nap, and then headed off to fish. She quickly reached level 9 fishing and caught a perfect Siamese catfish, meaning we only needed 5 more fish. Valencia headed home, finally feeling like she was making decent progress towards her lifetime wish. Tamara got up early the next morning, so I had her work on charisma a bit. That ended up working out well because she had to give another speech from memory, which was a bit overkill because she was already going to get promoted, but whatever, good for her. Tamara was in fact promoted to governor, and as a treat, she decided to paint that evening while Valencia read a pregnancy book. It was very, very cute and domestic. I love this little family. It was also Caspian's birthday, so I brought him downstairs to age him up. After giving him a little makeover in Cas, I just put him to bed because I was 90% sure Valencia was going to give birth that night, and I didn't want to just leave him on the floor downstairs. I was definitely right to do that because just a few hours later, the baby was coming. They had a baby girl that they decided to name Adriana after the Adriatic Sea, and her randomized traits were easily impressed and excitable, so she was a very different vibe from Caspian. Surprisingly, they only had one, which was great because it meant that they got exactly what I wanted, a boy and a girl, just not the way I anticipated. Now that the family had a bit more money saved up, it was time to do some more home improvements. I put wallpaper in every room, and I also gave them a much cuter kitchen. I upgraded their dining table, and I started to do their living room, but by that point I was running out of money, so it's still not the nicest. I also made sure to buy a single fish bowl for our final perfect fish, since the 2 tanks we had now would only hold up to 12. At that point, we were basically back down to having no money, so I decided that was good enough. The next morning, Tamara had an epiphany. She realized that she had an amazing wife, an awesome family, and was super fulfilled in her career. She decided that instead of focusing on just earning a ton of money, she really just wanted to rise through the ranks and become president, which in this world is a much more realistic goal. So in order to honor her wishes, and totally not just because there was no way in hell I was completing her original lifetime wish, she changed her lifetime wish to leader of the free world. While we were still a ways away from maxing the political career, it definitely seemed like a more attainable goal, and plus it was kind of cute. It was good character development for Tamara. Valencia potty trained Caspian while I used the rest of our money to buy some toddler toys. Tamara had planned a fundraising party later in the day, and until then she just practiced charisma. Eventually the first guest for the party arrived, and I went to go check on the kids, but I saw that Adriana's crib was empty. Where the fuck is Adriana? Why do you have my baby? Why the fuck do you have my baby? Okay. Thankfully, Tamara was able to get her child back and put her to bed. She also quickly got her campaign funding back in the green, so she officially had permission to fuck off for the rest of the night. She and Valencia decided to take advantage of this by having a nice little woohoo. The next day was pretty chill. Valencia tended the garden and then went fishing at the beach, where she almost immediately caught a perfect tragic clownfish, bringing us to 9 out of 13. Unfortunately, her luck was bad the rest of the day, so I just sent her home to go to bed. The next morning, I woke them up a bit early so they could woohoo before Tamara had to go to work. Once they were done and Tamara headed to work, Valencia went down to feed the fish, but she made a tragic discovery. Oh no! No! Did it go away? Fuck! No! Yeah, rest in peace our minnow. Now we were back to only having 8 out of 13, which was pretty demoralizing. At least now we knew for sure that fish can die, and I really needed to stay on top of feeding them or I'd be screwed. After taking care of our remaining non-dead fish, Valencia started to teach Caspian how to walk. She got tired about halfway through though and just stopped to take a nap. Meanwhile, Tamara made probably a bad financial decision and hired a maid. Do we have the money to be spending $125 a day on a maid? Probably not, but I was tired of the house constantly being disgusting, so I did it anyways. Tamara finished teaching Caspian how to walk and then spent the rest of the night practicing her speech. When Valencia woke up, she headed back out to fish, but she had terrible luck, so she just went to bed. The next day was Adriana's birthday, so I aged her up and gave her a little makeover. What a little cutie. Tamara went ahead and potty trained her, then went back to the charisma grind. While tending the garden that day, Valencia got the Master Farmer Gardening Achievement, which means she's harvested at least 650 fruits and veggies, which is insane. With this, her plants will remain watered and fertilized for longer, meaning in theory she'll have to take care of them less. Soon after, she reached level 10 gardening, so I had her take care of her needs and then go fishing. A goal I had for Valencia in the back of my mind was for her to catch a perfect death fish, which is the rarest fish in the game. To do that, she'd need some angelfish, so I sent her out to catch some. She fished until she mastered the fishing skill, and then I sent her to bed at literally 5 a.m. Because of this, I decided she'd get to have a little bit of a lazy day today and just focus on reading her books. It was also good for her to stay home because it was Caspian and Tamara's birthday. I aged Caspian up with little fanfare and felt kinda bad, but he'll get cake later when Tamara ages up, so it's fine. I randomized his traits and loves the outdoors. That's great. All right, and that kind of makes sense too with his mom. Okay, cute. I redecorated his room and gave him kind of a jungle animal adventure theme. Since we still had a little bit of money left over, I decided to finally buy a desk and computer. Caspian, being an outdoorsy loner type, decided to sign up for military school to start building his athletic skill. He's always been fascinated with martial arts and wants to learn when he's older, and this will give him a good head start. Caspian, the incredibly diligent boy that he is, decided to go work out for a bit, while Adriana played in the toy chest. Compared to her brother, she seems much more cheerful and mischievous, and I'm excited to see them both grow and change as they age up. I then gave Caspian a makeover, and I tried to channel that outdoorsy explorer vibe without being too on the nose. I also realized that now that Caspian was a child, we only had 7 days left to have both Valencia and Tamara complete their lifetime wishes if we want to maximize his teenage years by being able to add world adventures right when he ages up. Our deadline was fast approaching, and I was really worried about getting everything done in time. I felt a little bit better because Tamara finished work for the day and was promoted to vice president. This was good because it was our second to last promotion, but now that she only works Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she only had 3 work days left to get promoted to rank 10. Since she got promoted and needed more fundraising money anyways, Tamara decided to throw a birthday/campaign party that night. But I did decide to go ahead and buy her a cake to age up so she could celebrate with just her family. After that, she took a nap to rest up for later that night while Valencia and Caspian ate some cake. I gave Tamara a little makeover before her party, and I really like her look. I'm never really sure how to dress elders, but I think her look is age appropriate and feels fitting for a high-ranking politician who still likes to have some fun. Throughout the night, Tamara raised over $50,000 and then excused herself to go to sleep. Caspian went to bed too early, so his energy was almost full at midnight, so he decided to get up and do a late-night workout. Caspian continued to be the most responsible child ever, as when he woke up, he fed the fish before heading off to his first day of school. When Tamara woke up, she taught Adriana how to talk while Valencia headed out to tend the garden. In the afternoon, Caspian continued his diligent streak, as when he arrived home, he immediately autonomously started doing his homework. I swear he's like the most locked-in Sims child of all time. Valencia hung out with him for a while, and then I sent her to the graveyard to try to catch a death fish. Pretty much immediately after she started fishing, she caught a perfect vampire fish, bringing us back up to 9 out of 13. The death fish wouldn't spawn until midnight, so in the meantime, she fished for angelfish to get more bait. Tamara had been practicing charisma, but it was moving really slowly, so I decided to buy her the fast learning perk. When I went back to Valencia, I was surprised to see that she had caught a perfect angelfish, so now we were 10 out of 13. Since it was almost midnight, she headed back to the graveyard to try to catch a death fish. She seemed to struggle a bit at first, but eventually she caught a very nice death fish. It wasn't the perfect one I was looking for, but it was a great start. She also unlocked a fishing perk, which I am too lazy to Google how to pronounce. She had caught 20 different kinds of fish, meaning that from now on, she'd catch bigger fish on average. She ended up catching another very nice death fish, but ran out of angelfish and just headed home. I had her eat some garlic in her inventory just as like a random snack, and was surprised to see that she got a unique garlic breath moodlet that I had never seen before. I love that after playing this game for over a decade, I still find something new almost every time I play, even with just the base game. When Valencia and Tamara got up the next morning, they did a little quickie before Tamara headed off to work. Just like with Caspian, Valencia started to teach Adriana how to walk, but eventually got too tired and had to stop and take a nap. While at work that day, Tamara got a quest to meet 4 Sims for a performance boost, so after work she ran around introducing herself to people. Since she was over halfway to a promotion and would get a boost from this, she would almost certainly get her final promotion on Monday, which was great because we were cutting it pretty close to the deadline. Caspian got home from school and wanted attention from his mom, and to be honest, I wasn't sure which one he meant, but since Tamara was free, she helped him with his homework. When she woke up, Valencia went to the beach to fish for a perfect anchovy, since that was a pretty basic fish that we didn't have yet, and soon enough she had caught one. That meant we only had 2 fish to go. She switched to trying to catch a blowfish, and again, she caught a perfect one in no time. Now that we only needed 1 more fish, I really wanted that last one to be a perfect death fish. But since she was out of angelfish and her needs were draining fast, I just sent her home. At 3 a.m. when Valencia was going to bed, Caspian was waking up. Since he had some time before school, he decided to do a quick workout. And yes, today is Saturday, but Caspian still had school because military school is every day. I kind of feel bad for him, but again, I think he just genuinely loves the grind, which while I can't really relate to, I have to respect. When Tamara woke up, I decided to let her finish a painting she had started forever ago before working on charisma the rest of the day. When Valencia had about half energy, she got up to finish teaching Adriana how to walk since her birthday was tomorrow. After that, Valencia headed out to fish for an angelfish so she'd be ready to catch a, hopefully, perfect death fish that night. However, my plan was foiled when she randomly caught a perfect piranha. Now, I know I literally just said that I wanted the last fish to be a death fish, but not gonna lie, I wanted to finish the challenge in time above all else. So I went ahead and bought him a new tank since I still wanted the bowl to be reserved for the perfect death fish, and then immediately forgot about all that and just put him in the bowl anyways. The bowl named him Arturo, which, sure, why not? But literally, who cares? Valencia had officially presented the perfect private aquarium and was done with her lifetime wish. Since she had a good amount of angelfish, I just decided to send her home. Valencia moved Arturo to his rightful tank, but I let him keep his name so we'd always remember that he was our final fish for our lifetime goal. Valencia took care of her beautiful aquarium and then laid down for a nap, feeling incredibly fulfilled. Tamara tried to cook dinner, but it just ended up setting a fire. I fear that some of Valencia's loser energy is rubbing off on her. Luckily, she was able to put it out, but just decided to eat some leftover cake instead of trying to cook again. I woke Valencia up so she could help Caspian with his homework, and then she headed out to catch a deathfish. While she was on the way, I realized that Tamara was so close to leveling up in charisma, so she practiced speech until she hit level 9. She probably wouldn't need any more charisma to get promoted, so I decided I wouldn't force her to do any more speech practice. Even though leaving it at level 9 out of 10 would be hella unsatisfying, I did want Tamara to enjoy her golden years and have time to pursue her passions like painting, so whether or not she'd max the skill was up in the air. I checked back in on Valencia, who was doing a great job catching high-quality deathfish, but she still couldn't seem to catch a perfect one. Since she had a shit ton of lifetime reward points after completing her lifetime wish, I wanted to see if there was something I could buy that would help her catch fish. There wasn't really, so I decided to spend a lot of her points on buying a food replicator, since clearly no one in the house was a good cook. I also bought her Fast Learner and Dirt Defiant to make her life a little bit easier. She went back to fishing, but unfortunately for some reason there were a shit ton of ghosts out tonight. They took turns scaring Valencia, forcing her to pass out over and over again for hours. By the time they finally stopped, it was 5 a.m. and there were no more deathfish, so Valencia just went home. That morning, Adriana aged up into a child and got the Daredevil trait, which is super cute since Tamara also has that trait. It seems like Adriana takes a bit more after Tamara, being sociable and risk-taking, while Caspian is a bit more reserved and outdoorsy like Valencia. I took her into Cas to give her a little makeover, and since her favorite color is black, I tried to go for like a kids bop goth vibe, and I redid her room in the same style. I then made a horrible discovery. Oh my god, does she not have bedroom windows? Oh my god, wait, I'm awful. Neither of the kids have bedroom. Oh my god. No one has bedroom windows. I forgot to add windows. I have no clue how I forgot to go back and add in upstairs windows, but hey, better late than never. While I was at it, I added a bit more landscaping, and it really made our house feel that much more put together. It's crazy to think that for a lot of the challenge, poor Valencia didn't have a house and just lived on the lot, but I'm glad that now she had a nice cozy house with her family. Tamara painted while Valencia read her fishing books, and when Caspian got home from school, he and Adriana played for a while. Valencia made an autumn salad to put in the food replicator, and now she can have her favorite food on demand, which sounds amazing and is exactly what she deserves for all of her hard work. And after a quick nap, she headed back out to the graveyard, determined to catch a perfect deathfish. To be honest, I think Valencia was terrified that the ghost would return, so she locked the fuck in and almost immediately caught one. I threw him in the bowl, and he was given a glorious, powerful, strong name, Neil. Valencia went home that night feeling incredibly accomplished and proud of herself. She, a coward, had braved the graveyard at night so many times and had finally caught a perfect deathfish for all of her effort. She was also relieved as hell that she would never ever have to go back and see another ghost again. The next morning, Tamara woke up and headed off to work. The boost she got from introducing herself to people basically instantly guaranteed that she'd get her final promotion today. Ironically, Tamara was once again asked if she wanted to illegally take out funds. I said I'd reconsider it if we were ever asked again, but at this point we had a nice house and a few thousand in the bank, so there was no need. When she was done with work, Tamara officially got promoted to leader of the free world, meaning she had completed her lifetime wish. The good news for the family continued when Caspian got on the honor roll. To celebrate, Tamara and Valencia decided to take the entire family out to the fancy bistro. I wanted them to eat outside like as a family, but all of the tables only had 2 chairs, so Valencia ended up eating alone. But hey, it's the thought that counts. Once they were finished eating, they toured the nearby theater. Well, except for Adriana, who just didn't go in, so I just sent her home to sleep. And after the tour, everyone else joined her. The next morning, Valencia and Tamara flirted and caught up for a bit before doing a little woohoo. Now that they had both completed their lifetime wishes, they had a lot more free time on their hands and could just relax. Afterwards, I sent Valencia out to go fishing. Even though she didn't need to fish anymore, I thought it would be a fun stretch goal challenge to try to catch perfect versions of all of the fish. Tamara finished up the painting she was working on, and I hung it up on the wall with one of her others. It's kind of sweet because Tamara only started painting because she wanted another income source to become rich, but now she usually doesn't even sell her paintings, instead just hanging them up around the house for her family to enjoy. Caspian arrived home in the afternoon, but I was surprised to see that Adriana was still at school. And she wasn't alone. There were several kids trapped back there. I was able to teleport Adriana out and free her, but rip those other kids, I guess. And after a day of painting and fishing respectively, Tamara and Valencia ended the day like they started, with a woohoo. The next day was the last day of the challenge, as it was Caspian's birthday. I decided to make him go to his last day of elementary school rather than just aging him up now, so both he and Adriana headed off to catch the bus. Even though Tamara was getting up there in age, she didn't want to retire just yet and headed off to work in her new fancy schmancy white limo. Unfortunately, she got some bad news as Vita, her former boss and best friend, had passed away. It was a sad reminder that Tamara didn't have much time left herself, but but that's a problem for the next generation. That evening, I bought a cake and we had a proper birthday party for Caspian. All of his family was there, and so was this random ass child Adriana brought home with her from school. But it was still a really nice little party. With that, it was time for Caspian to randomize his 4th trait.
All right, let's see. Excitable, sure. Oh my god, not the bear costume. Oh, Caspian, okay.
Yeah, Caspian is definitely an interesting one, but I'm super excited to travel the world with him. I gave him a quick little makeover, still trying for that outdoorsy explorer vibe, and I think he turned out pretty cute. Now that we are entering Caspian's generation, we will of course be adding world adventures in for the next video. That means Caspian can finally start focusing on martial arts and go exploring when he becomes an adult. But don't worry, we'll still be playing with the entire family. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. I really enjoyed working on this first generation, and I'm super excited to see what Caspian gets up to when we play world adventures. If you have ideas or suggestions for his generation, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment down below. Also, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Not only does it mean the world to me, but also you'll be notified when Caspian's video eventually comes out. With that, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Please take care of yourself, drink some water, and please try not to burn down the house next time you cook something, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone!